Elon Musk is such a two-faced turncoat traitor because he was a climate champion and he sold himself out for a buck and some power. Don't follow that guy. That guy doesn't even have his original accent anymore. Don't follow him.
What can we say about Elon Musk? How did this happen? How is this allowed to happen? How is the richest man in the world allowed to buy the presidency? How?
Elon Musk just had a full-blown billionaire meltdown. And no, it wasn't over Twitter's new logo. This time, it's because Mark Ruffalo and Rosie O'Donnell teamed up like it's Avengers, Roast Edition, and absolutely obliterated him. Yep, Iron Man's real-world knockoff couldn't handle a Hulk-sized ego check and a Rosie reality slap. What did they say? Why is Elon fuming like a Tesla battery on overdrive? Buckle up, because this is the roast Musk never saw coming.
What I'm seeing happening is more and more people getting involved. And this has been a huge wake-up call. And people are becoming more conscious. They're seeing the effects of things like climate change happening really in their lives. We have the internet now, which is literally a mirror to humanity. We literally get to see who we are for the first time in human history, where the image of ourselves is not being filtered through a centralized media system. And yeah, it has its problems, and yes, we do get misinformation, but for the most part, good information makes its way to the top.
Elon Musk, the self-proclaimed real-life Iron Man with a side hustle in making Twitter absolutely unusable, has officially combusted. No, not like a rocket launch, more like a spectacular emotional faceplant. This time, it wasn't a Tesla catching fire or a Cybertruck spontaneously bursting into origami. Nope. Elon Musk got verbally obliterated by none other than Bruce Banner and the Queen of Comebacks, Mark Ruffalo and Rosie O'Donnell. Because apparently, in 2025, the final boss of the internet is a Marvel actor and a comedian with zero patience for man-babies in zip-up vests.
What has happened since he's taken office has been terrifying, I think, for the world and definitely for the United States of America.
You know, a lot of people did vote for him.
Yes.
Do you accept their right to do that and their opinion of him?
Well, I respect their right to do that. I question why the first time in American history a president has won every swing state and is also best friends, and his largest donor was a man who owns and runs the internet.
It all began when Ruffalo, who usually channels his rage into smashing CGI villains, decided to try something different, calling out Musk's downward spiral into tech lord madness. It's like watching a genius fall from grace, except the grace was mostly just hype and Elon landed on a pile of cryptocurrency memes and fired employees. Ruffalo, armed with decades of being both woke and likable, took one look at Musk's performance on the world stage and said what most of humanity has been whispering since 2022. Is this guy okay? Spoiler alert, no, he is not.
His Project 2025 agenda is truly insane, deporting 20 million hardworking, tax-paying immigrants. These people pay taxes. We're talking trillions of dollars worth of taxes coming into our country. It's going to cost $3 billion to send them away. And it's going to cost our economy trillions of dollars. Who's going to pay for that? Is that what Elon Musk means when he says we're going to have to suffer when Donald Trump comes into office economically? Who's going to pay for that?
Because moments later, Rosie O'Donnell cannonballed into the conversation with the energy of 1,000 canceled Netflix specials and the precision of a late-night roast master. In a few choice words, and probably while sipping decaf tea, she managed to vaporize Musk's public image faster than SpaceX vaporizes launch pads. It was glorious. Imagine being so committed to freedom of speech, yet so allergic to being mocked by people with better comic timing than you. Elon Musk, defender of unregulated thought, suddenly found himself blocking, subtweeting, and dramatically posting memes that reeked of middle school lunchroom revenge.
Would hope that that would be investigated and that we would see whether or not it was an anomaly or something else that happened on election night in America when Kamala Harris was filling up stadiums with people who supported her, and Donald Trump was not able to do that. So it's curious to me, and as an American and a believer in democracy, I would hope that we would be able to look at all of the reasons why this happened in our country.
The timing couldn't have been more perfect. Musk has been on a bit of a PR bender lately. You know, firing people live on his platform, boosting conspiracy theories, and generally acting like he's auditioning for a reboot of The Apprentice Tech Edition. And then came Rosie, reminding everyone that being rich doesn't make you interesting, and being online 24/7 definitely doesn't make you cool. Her insult was so effortless, so devastatingly accurate, that Musk's digital minions scrambled into defensive mode like they were protecting the Death Star. And let's be real, it wasn't just the clapbacks, it was who delivered them. Mark Ruffalo, Hollywood's most unproblematic green rage monster, and Rosie, who's basically built her career on exposing egos like they're expired yogurt. These two joining forces is like Batman teaming up with Ellen Ripley, chaotic, unexpected, and deeply entertaining. They weren't just criticizing Elon, they were torching the very persona he spent years manufacturing. Part messiah, part meme lord, part guy who clearly needs a nap. Naturally, the internet noticed, because nothing spreads faster than billionaire tears. Memes flew across timelines. It wasn't just a roast, it was a full-on digital inferno.
That guy doesn't even have his original accent anymore. Don't follow him. Don't listen to him. We're the ones who we have to believe in. We're the ones who we're waiting for, and we are the ones that have to move forward together.
And where are the lawyers, and where are the poets and the political commentators who are gonna not normalize this insanity? It is absolutely insane. Insane. And those Tesla cars are so ugly.
Elon's reaction, the usual cocktail of cryptic tweets, half-baked AI jokes, and that weird insistence that if you don't love him at his most erratic, you don't deserve him at his least rational. But this wasn't just an internet drama, it was a glorious unraveling of the myth of Musk. Because when two entertainers can destabilize your reputation with a handful of posts, maybe your empire wasn't built on brilliance after all. Maybe it was built on hype, hope, and a fan base that still thinks Dogecoin is a retirement plan. Elon's entire online persona depends on being the smartest person in the room, even when the room is clearly on fire and he's the one who brought the matches. And that's what made Ruffalo's intervention so poetic. Here's a guy who plays a literal genius on screen, politely suggesting that the world doesn't need a tech bro turned free speech warrior telling us what truth is. Because when Musk opens his mouth these days, it's less revolutionary innovator and more mid-tier Reddit philosopher with too much funding. Mark didn't need to scream. He didn't need to rant. He just hit the irony button and walked away as the Musk empire shook like a Tesla on autopilot in a hailstorm. Then Rosie lit the match.
Like a really urgent parallel here with the climate crisis going on right now. You know, the waters and the earth being polluted. Obviously, America, the most powerful country in the world, should be leading this fight, but your president is not a believer in climate crisis. How do you feel about this?
I think the world should consider my president as public enemy #1 at this point. What we do probably in the next 10 years will be crucial to the future of the planet.
With years of experience roasting fragile egos, she surgically dismantled Musk's latest attempts to be culturally relevant. You know it's bad when someone can summarize your entire public image in a punchline and make you look like a less successful version of your own parody account. Rosie didn't just criticize, she was humiliated. And the more Musk tried to clap back, the more he looked like a confused uncle trying to win a rap battle at Thanksgiving dinner. By this point, Musk's feed was a mess of vague grievances, retweets from anonymous Musk stans, and the digital equivalent of muttering to himself in a mirror. He tried to act unfazed, like being shredded by celebrities was all part of his master plan. But when your response to valid critique is to platform even weirder conspiracy theorists, maybe it's time to admit the rocket isn't going up anymore. It's circling the launch pad like a Roomba with a vendetta. What made this whole saga even more delicious was the existential crisis it caused among Musk's remaining fanboys. They didn't know who to cancel first, Mark Ruffalo for speaking truth with kindness, or Rosie for daring to be funny and female at the same time. The result was a chaotic mashup of angry Reddit threads, AI-generated Musk memes, and the occasional panicked post about how Twitter is actually thriving if you just squint really hard and ignore the advertisers sprinting for the exit.
Are you watching this moron speak? Can he form a coherent sentence? He is the worst thing that ever happened. Period. And he's just babbling like an incoherent asshole. He's like Dr. Doom. He's the worst thing. Oh, you know what? He just lies, lies, lies. I am done with Donald Trump.
And let's not forget the advertisers. Oh, they noticed. Because nothing says brand safety like your platform's owner getting annihilated online by two liberal celebrities and then retaliating with rage tweets that could have been written in crayon. Major sponsors began doing that awkward, "we're reassessing our strategy" dance, while Elon responded by tweeting something obtuse about quantum gravity and liberty. Meanwhile, Rosie's trending, Ruffalo's gaining followers, and the only thing dropping faster than X's stock is Musk's approval rating at dinner parties. It was the perfect storm. A fragile ego, two celebrities who didn't care, and a public that's finally tired of treating billionaires like philosopher kings. Musk tried to spin it as a win for free speech, but there's a difference between tolerating criticism and getting roasted so hard your burner accounts file for emotional bankruptcy. Even more incredible, this wasn't some coordinated attack. Rosie and Mark weren't tag teaming out of some secret anti-Musk cabal. They were just doing what normal people do when faced with absurdity, calling it out. They didn't have bots. They didn't have PR machines. They just had working internet connections and zero patience for nonsense, which, as it turns out, is Musk's kryptonite.
Honestly, I started to think about the People's State of the Union and what we were going to get from a president who has a very difficult time with the truth, who likes to talk a lot about himself and his accomplishments, and who has done a serious amount of bashing of American institutions and people, and I look around at the people who really worked their asses off this year, who haven't been in a country club eating cheeseburgers, who have been out there every single day working for the behalf of the American people. And I thought, and my friend Julia Walsh thought, hey, we should have the people's State of the Union and really hear it from the people who are really out there working so hard for this nation every single day.
And while all of this was unfolding, Musk couldn't help but make things worse. He started reposting fan art of himself as a warrior against cancel culture, complete with AI-enhanced muscles and lightning bolts, because nothing says you're not bothered like turning your midlife crisis into an anime poster. He also hinted at another important announcement, which turned out to be a new feature no one asked for, a voice-to-emoji translator. Yes, that happened. So now we have the richest man on Earth, spinning in circles, dunked on by an actor known for playing a rage monster and a comedian who once feuded with Donald Trump for fun. That's what the billionaire endgame looks like. Desperate, defensive, and completely incapable of handling a well-timed zinger. The best part? Ruffalo and Rosie didn't stick around to milk it. They dropped their verbal bombs and bounced. No 10-part thread, no podcast appearances, just a couple of devastating observations and then radio silence. Meanwhile, Musk kept trying to extend the fight like a guy shouting comebacks after the crowd's already left the bar. And now, the legacy of this glorious meltdown is sealed in internet history. Not because it was the first time Elon Musk got criticized, but because it was the first time the criticism actually landed. Not with tech journalists or economists, but with regular people who finally saw the emperor wasn't wearing clothes. Just memes and maybe a Tony Stark complex held together by spare parts and copium.
So then I said, some facts that I just went on Wiki that were easily accessible since this campaign began, that he is bankrupt 4 times, that he got all his money from his father, and that he notoriously cheats private contractors out of their money.
Yes, and that is all
Simple
pretty well
facts,
documented. Yeah.
Simple facts.
And so you said this on The View.
And he went bat crazy.
Yeah.
So what did we learn? that billionaires are people too, just much, much weirder ones. That a solid roast is more powerful than a press conference, and that if your entire reputation can be undone by a sarcastic tweet from Rosie O'Donnell, maybe you weren't that impressive to begin with. If nothing else, it proved this. When you build your brand on being untouchable, it only takes one good joke to bring the whole circus tent down. Elon Musk wanted to be remembered as a visionary. Instead, he's trending for getting ratioed by the Hulk and a daytime talk show legend. You can't script this kind of poetic collapse, but you can laugh about it, and honestly, that's the only proper response at this point. By the time Mark Ruffalo had finished roasting him and Rosie O'Donnell had delivered her verbal freight train of mockery, Elon Musk was practically live tweeting a nervous breakdown. The fallout wasn't just digital, it was a full-blown corporate dumpster fire. His PR team, which already functioned like a group of exhausted interns locked in a Wi-Fi-less bunker, was now in complete triage mode.
We're here today to commemorate a life of an American that was killed by a Nazi on American soil. Let's say her name so Donald Trump can hear what's happened here. He's allowed these people. He's allowed fascism. He's allowed the KKK. He's allowed Nazis to show their ugly face. And we're here to remind them there's a cost for that. Americans have died because of it. Oh, come on, say her name. Have her hair. We're decent people.
Picture them frantically Googling how to rebrand after getting annihilated by Rosie O'Donnell. No answers, just tears and the sound of Dogecoin dropping like Elon's credibility. Unfortunately, emotional resilience doesn't translate well when you're rage posting at celebrities and retweeting 12-follower accounts calling Rosie a deep state operative. The man who once lectured the world on free speech and stoicism couldn't even muster the courage to address the situation directly. No apology, no witty comeback, just a flurry of scatterbrained tweets that read like a rejected Black Mirror episode. One moment he's quoting Marcus Aurelius, the next he's hyping a Shiba Inu meme like it's going to restore investor confidence. Spoiler, it didn't. Meanwhile, advertisers were sprinting for the exits like they just realized they were sponsoring a rocket launch directed by Alex Jones. X, the platform formerly known as Twitter, started bleeding ad revenue faster than Musk loses followers after every embarrassing tweet. Because apparently, free speech loses its charm when your timeline is filled with Elon arguing with sock puppets and conspiracy theorists. And while Musk was busy spinning in digital circles, Ruffalo was having a renaissance. Rosie, on the other hand, was thriving like she just got a sitcom renewal and a free pass to insult tech bros indefinitely. The irony was Shakespearean, because in the end, the thing that finally made Elon Musk crack wasn't a Tesla recall or a Falcon 9 crash landing, or the fact that Neuralink still hasn't turned anyone into a cyborg. No, it was a couple of celebrities with Twitter accounts and enough charisma to vaporize his whole tech overlord illusion. A man who bought an entire platform to control the narrative and still couldn't out-tweet Rosie O'Donnell. Now that's poetic.